Hi folks, this is the video to go with section 6.3 in our Algebra 2 book. This is about operations with polynomials. And specifically our objective today is that you should be able to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials after watching this video. So I'm going to subtract these two these two polynomials. But I want you to think about this. When you first learn to subtract, let's say you were going to subtract 457 minus 123. You didn't really do it like this, right? You didn't do this horizontally like we normally do in algebra. What you probably did was you did 457 minus 123, and you did this vertically, right? Okay, well, that's what I'm going to do over here. I'm going to actually rewrite this, just so I have a little room here. 3x squared minus 2x plus 7. And then underneath that, I'm going to line up my like terms, which I don't have as many as I thought, minus, I have a 5x cubed minus 4x squared plus 6x. And then I'm going to subtract that. And when I do this, as long as I have my like terms lined up, I really am just watching out for my coefficients here. So I'm going to do 7 minus 0 is 7. Negative 2x minus 6x is going to be negative 8x. I have 3x squared minus negative 4x squared. Well, that's going to be 3x squared plus 4x squared, so that's going to be plus 7x squared. And then lastly, I have 0 x cubed up here. 0 minus 5x cubed is going to be negative 5x cubed. So it might be, you might find it a little nicer to, rather than add and subtract horizontally, to add and subtract vertically. You can stack your two polynomials and get your solution that way. Okay, so let's move on to multiplying polynomials. And again, there's not necessarily anything really new here. I really just want to take this term by term, and distribute this first term to every term that I have over here. And again, I surely can do this horizontally if you like this method. But again, we can stack these. I can put one on top of the other and say, okay, x plus 2 times x cubed minus 3x plus 5, and distribute this way. I can do the positive 5 times the 2, and then times the x. And I find that this is often a nice way of doing this. So the first thing I'm going to notice is that when I do 5 times 2, that's going to be my constant. I'm going to put that as far to the right as I really can, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of the terms here, and then really kind of work my way left here as I make my multiplication. So now I'm going to have negative 3x times the 2, and then times the x. It's a little easy to see the distribution this way, as opposed to when you have it horizontal, it's not as easy to see the distribution. So as I make my next line, I'm just going to now line up my like terms. And that way it's a little easier to see exactly what I'm doing. And now I'm going to add down. And again, since my like terms are all lined up here, I have all my x to the fourths, my x cubes, and so on. This is a pretty easy addition that I have going on here, if I can just pull it off right. So there's my product there when I multiply these two terms from way up top here. X plus 2 times x cubed minus 3x plus 5. Okay, so try this one on your own. You might want to hit pause at this point. Try this one on your own, and I'm going to put the answer up here right now. So I get from this x cubed plus 3x squared minus 31x plus 72. I hope you got the same thing, or I hope I did it right as well. So we're going to move on here, and now we're going to multiply 3 binomials. So with 3 binomials, we don't have too much of a choice here. We need to do this in 2 steps. If you think about if you want to multiply 2 times 3 times 4, we can't just multiply everything together. We actually have to choose to multiply 2 of these first, for example, the first 2, and get 6. And then we do 6 times 4, and then we can get 24 that way. Or, notice here that we could have multiplied the second 2 together, right, and get 2 times 12, and then get 24 that way. Or you can even multiply the first and the third together, right, and get 8, and then multiply by 3, and you get 24. It doesn't really matter which order you do this in, but you really just need to pick 2 and then multiply them together. So I'm going to pick the first 2 just because they're together. And I'm going to multiply these. I'm just going to FOIL these out. I'm going to do this horizontally because this is simple enough. So I'm going to get 2x squared minus x. And then when I distribute the 3, I'm going to get plus 6x minus 3. And that's times x plus 5. And I'm going to simplify this first. I'm going to get 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And now we're back at a similar spot here where I can multiply this, really this trinomial that we have right here by this binomial x plus 5. And again, I'm going to use the method that I did before with the stacking. So I'm going to take my 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And I'm going to multiply that by x plus 5. And again, I'm just going to take this term by term. I'm going to take this 5 times a negative 3, negative 15, and so on, right? I'm not going to walk through everything slowly like I did before. So plus 25x. This is plus 10x squared. And then for my second line, again, x times all of these. Again, make sure you line up your like terms here. That way it's all set and ready to go for when we add down. So the final product I get here is 2x cubed plus 15x squared. Looks like that's plus 22x minus 15. Okay, so you folks try this one. Multiply these 3 binomials out. You might want to pause it here, and I'm going to put the solutions up. So I get x cubed plus 2x squared minus 13x plus 10. So again, hope you got the same thing. Hope I did this out right, but that's what I get when I multiply those. So our last little bit here are some patterns that come up often that really we should all be familiar with. Your book suggests a few more, but these 3 right here are kind of the basics here. You can FOIL these out to check these out, and I welcome you to do that. But we've seen this before, right? This comes from the difference of 2 squares. So this comes from if we were to factor a squared minus b squared. So that's a nice little pattern that we've seen. And we're going to have some examples in class in your homework. So I'm just going to give us what the patterns actually work out to be. This one's a nice one to remember, and it's a little bit different from difference of 2 squares. And the way this goes, and again, you can multiply this out. We square the first, plus we double the product of the first and the second term. And then we add in the square of the last term. So this is called square double square. And we'll see this, we'll talk about this in class later on. Square double square. And in fact, the last one here is also a square double square, except the difference is we have this negative. And what that is going to do with our final solution here is that it's going to change that sign to a negative in there. But everything else, all the square terms, stay positive. Anyways, that's our introduction to adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. Hope you find this useful, and look forward to seeing you guys in class.